Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great episode for you guys. It is going to be an Omega run for us, which is basically just to race through a lot of the backlogs. I'll say for this one, kind of cool because we are in the final book, or I should be more specific, the final series that I haven't started to read yet. The Last Ronin, we'll be reviewing that here. There are additional books I have, like Poison Ivy, still got to get through the next couple of volumes that are part of the backlog, and then Saga as well, finishing up this trade. Then we have the singles, but The Last Ronin was the last book where I haven't touched whatsoever, and we're starting to review that, and then we're done. We're totally caught up. I did pick up some additional trades from Christmas time period. I got a gift card, but I just bought a whole bunch of random books because it's kind of difficult to, and it was like for one particular shop, to go there. It's up in New York. I'm down here in Georgia, so I just found whatever was on clearance and bought a bunch of stuff. And I'm looking through it, and I'm like, I don't think this would be super interesting for a whole bunch of folks. So I do have those as part of like my own personal backlog, if you will, but I just won't include it as part of the show. But yeah, after that, then we are totally and completely caught up. So I think when I was saying like somewhere around April and May, that holds pretty true. So that's probably when all this stuff will be wrapped up as far as like Omega as being like a regular feature, and we'll kind of be going from there. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it and jump into our review. So instead of 10, we have just 9 books in total. The 10th probably would have been like another issue in one of these trades that I'm going through. But it's like, I think 9 is fine, and it's just one of each story. And then also for me, I'm like kind of running a little bit behind. I read 5 of these today, and now I'm recording now at like 10 o'clock at night. So it's like, we can stick with 9. I think that'll be totally and completely fine. But if you're new, I'll go ahead and just read off all the books in order so you know the order that they'll be reviewed in. So we have The Nice House by the Sea, issue number 6. Then we have Saga. It's going to be issue number 49. Then Ghost Pepper. It's right around issue 3. This one doesn't have the cutoffs of exactly when one issue ends to the next, but I think it's issue 3. Then we have Poison Ivy, issue number 17. Then Echolands, number 2. Then Fables, 159. Then Issunboshi, chapter 3. Then Nandi and the Castle in the Sea. This is from Anil, who I interviewed a couple of episodes, so I just started this. This will be chapter 1. And then we're going to wrap things up with The Last Ronin, issue number 1. So those will be the books. It'll be those 10 in that order that we go ahead and review. And of course, every time with these trades, it becomes difficult to flip them back over to get them all squared away. But we got it all figured out here. So we'll start off with The Nice House by the Sea, issue number 6. And for those who are unaware, and this is their first time jumping in, appreciate you listening along. The way that this is going to work is I'll catch you up on the story thus far, but I do spoil the heck out of the book. So if you don't want spoilers, it's just not going to be the review show for you. But I'll give you my score on League. I'll give you the League score as well. And then I will let you know whether or not this is a good one to jump into. And then for the folks on YouTube, we'll go ahead and show off some of the artwork so you can get a sense if this is going to be a book that you would be interested in. So yeah, we'll start off here with The Nice House by the Sea, issue number 6. I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.3. Not surprised it was that much higher, but for me, I was like, no, this is straight up just a 4. It's a large focus of this book is about Nora and her relationship with Max. So that's a vast majority of what is taking place in this issue. And so much backstory here. This is the one where the whole world is destroyed. It's mostly controlled by these aliens. These aliens have set up biomes with 10 different folks. One alien, his name is Walter. He picked his 10 best friends to be in this biome, whereas Max actually followed the prompt the way it's supposed to be and found one of each person that's like exceptional and basically put them in their biome. But these two biomes crossed. Both of them are now aware of each other. The exceptional group is concerned that and they're all in the Nice House by the Sea. They're all concerned that the lake folks are going to try to beat them in some sort of competition, and that only one biome is going to last. The lake folks, most of them are none the wiser as of right now, and for the other biome, they think that, we're just here for good times and good vibes. So there's that concern for one. The other piece is Max is also aware that both sides have crossed over. The people in the lake biome think that Walter from the previous volume is dead. Max wants to come over and have a conversation with Walter to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So that catches you up for the most part. This issue does a pretty good job of catching you up as well. Issue 5 does also, but I do recommend you just read Nice House by the Sea, Nice House on the Lake, as well as Nice House by the Sea, in order to catch you up, because there's just a lot of twists and turns that this series makes, so it doesn't really make sense to jump in here. But we do have Nora, who had this relationship with Max way back in the day. And what you really find out from Nora is Nora grew up as a biological male. So her name was Norm back in the day. She dated Max in high school, and they had a bad breakup. And it's not as messy as a breakup as you think it would be. It's not that anyone cheated or anything like that, but it's almost worse in just how mundane that the breakup was. It was just the fact that Norm wasn't exceptional. And it was just kind of blah, kind of boring, and just couldn't live up to whatever Max's expectations were at that time. You also compound the fact that Norm then transitioned to Nora, knows all of this stuff is about to go down, and basically also has to come with the grips of didn't measure up enough to be saved by Max, right, from the ending of the world. Also Max didn't care enough to even try to save Nora in any way, shape, or form. So that's all been screwing with Norm and Nora's head throughout all these years. And then you find out after these breakups, you have multiple time gaps of months to years to literally 4, 5, 6 years apart, where Nora is continually reaching out to Max on email, text, whatever the case may be. Still in love with Max, still obsessed with her, and still truly loves her, even though she's got other girlfriends and boyfriends in the time in between, but still really cares about Max. That's important because Max finally shows up, confronts Nora. They basically hash out a lot of everything that I just explained. But in the end, Max is now going to manipulate Nora and be like, look, here's your opportunity now to be exceptional. Here's your opportunity now to, live up to whatever expectation I have for you. Are you willing to take it? Are you going to help me out? And basically, are you going to turn on the people here in the lake biome? And Nora says yes. And that is the cliffhanger that we're left off on, which is crazy. So we'll see how it all goes down. I think the biggest thing for me, why I gave it a 4 instead of a 4.5, is it was so just focused on the one relationship. In the Sea House, they're still kind of torturing Oliver as well, trying to understand what their next plan is. But you didn't get much detail there, and it's just solely focused on this relationship that took place in the past. And because of how they explained it, it didn't hit me as hard as I thought. And super sad, of course, the way that they set up the character. But overall, I was like, yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. That tracks. Nothing crazy there. Maybe a little crazier of okay, Nora's still going to be obsessed with Max and willing to destroy everything that's already happening in this biome. But also at the same time, it's they're 2 years into this at this point. They've just kind of been living their lives. I'd imagine a lot of the folks are kind of feeling this way of, what does it all matter anyways? There's no world out there for them to go to. How long are they going to just keep hanging out and just chilling and vibing? So that is the story. Let's go ahead and show off some of the artwork so you can take a look. As always, it's never been about the artwork, though it's good, it's serviceable, and it's fine. But it's all about Tiny End's writing in this particular series. And so here you have a breakdown of one of these emails, and it's huge time gaps take place in between all those emails, and folks just kind of figuring out what all to do. Here's another email, it's listed out, and then towards the very end here is the final one from Nora right before she comes to the house, has a conversation with Max, and it's yeah, she is willing to help Max do what she needs to do. So yeah, that is Nice House by the Sea, issue number 6. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. Then we go into Saga. So this is exciting because this is going to be the final trade in the huge collection. It's trades 1 through 9. I have the 10th volume trade as well. It just wasn't part of this enormous anthology collection. And then from there, after 10, then we get into the singles. So this trade starts off, issue 49, starts off on a high note where gang's all together, right? Everyone's reunited. You got Lana, you got Marco, you got Hazel, you got Prince Robot and his son Squire. You got Petrie there, you got Goose, you got the little walrus. They're all one big happy family as of right now, and then the reporters too. So before we get to them, we have the Will, who is a freelancer. Oh, and I should say I gave this a 4. Lee gave it a 4.5. You have the Will, who was a freelancer, and the secret is out about, Alana and Marco. One has wings, one has horns. They're both part of 2 different species that are at this huge war that the entire universe is a part of. And the fact that they, are together and procreated is like a major scandalous thing. So this all has to be on the hush-hush. And so the Will was caught and being tortured by this diplomat. And the Will, I guess, years ago, killed this diplomat's fiance. So that's why she was torturing him. But tapped into his memories and then found this memory of, Alana and Marco and those 2 being together. So now they're hot on the trails of the whole crew, and they're pretty close to catching up to them. So that's, maybe not even a quarter of the book that takes place there, just a couple of pages. And then the rest is what the rest of the crew is hanging out and doing. And it mostly centers around the reporters who want to go up to Marco and Alana and be like, hey, can you tell us your story? We'll break the story, but here's the thing. If you do that, we can basically put you in what is effectively their witness protection program, but it's this super ultra rare, powerful spell that they can do. It's crazy expensive, and they're willing to do it. Obviously, if you break a story like this, it would be the most incredible story for the entire universe. And so that way, you and your family can then start a life anew, and you guys would be totally fine. And both Alana and Marco are very against it because they're like, well, Hazel is, horns and wings, so we don't want to change how she looks and her identity and all that stuff. Like, we want to just continue to live our lives the way that we are. And so they're very passionate about that and don't want to pursue this any further. And so I imagine a lot of this volume is going to be about debating that, like what's best for the family. So that's one piece of it. But Prince Robot, he overhears all this, and then he and Petrie have fallen in love, basically, or they at least have a thing going. Petrie's maybe not at the love phase, but Prince Robot certainly is, and he's a little maybe in the infatuation stage rather than like truly thinking this out. So he goes to the reporters and is like, hey, we could tell our story, right? You got a robot and you got a horn species together. And then can you offer us the same thing? And they're like, well, maybe, we don't know. We can probably evaluate it. And as he's requesting that, what shows up on his computer screen is like, please say no to me, please say no to me, please say no to me, which is weird and interesting. So we'll see where that goes. And that's the cliffhanger. So I just imagine a lot of this is going to be like a philosophical debate of like identity and who we are. And, well, should we do this that's best for the family and we can actually live a normal life? No, should we just continue to be ourselves and understand this is going to be challenging, but we want to remain who we are? TBD, but that's where I think the story is going. And it was good to start, but I don't think it quite hit a 4.5. And usually these cliffhangers at the end for Saga are like mind-blowing shit. This one was just kind of fine. So, yeah, still good, though. Obviously, not a good time to jump in, but we'll go ahead and show off some of the artwork. As always, got to be super careful with the artwork in Saga for sure. But here we are kind of flipping through it. Here's where Prince Robot basically wants to make his plea. And he's like, yeah, so do we have a deal? And he's saying, yeah, please say no. Please say no. Please say no. So we'll see what actually is all happening here, TBD. But yeah, it's interesting. I kind of like that we're taking a break from like major dramatic stuff that's happening in the galaxy and then more focusing on the nuclear family. So I like those dynamics and I'm interested to see where it all goes. So then next up here is going to be Ghost Pepper, issue number 3. So this one, I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.1, so pretty much right there with League. This is where things are starting to get super interesting, I'd say. And here in this issue is a major reveal for us. So we have Laloy, she is a food truck driver, and we have Ash that she just picked up. And they are in this world that is post-apocalyptic Mad Maxy, and the whole world was saved by destroying or really punching this thing called the Cinder so hard that it went flying off the planet and landed on the moon. But the Cinder was like causing all this, it's like an enormous giant, and then its breath was like poisonous, so it was like poisoning people as well. Major threat to everyone. And this guy Batar and his Eclipse group were the ones that defeated it, but all the credit is given to Batar. So this happened like 10 years ago, and Ash just woke up apparently, along with his little pet golem, Jiminy, and they are in like this, where they wake up, it's, you know, like kind of a trash compactor landfill is what I'm looking for. So in a landfill area, and they have no idea what happened after 10 years. And so Leloy is talking about Batar, and it's like, why does everyone keep mentioning Batar? Like, what is all this happening? Leloy's like, what, have you been living on a rock? Like, he's our hero. He's our god, basically. We worship him. Once a month, we offer a whole bunch of donations to Batar as to show how thankful we are that we all are still alive. And they're like, well, why is that? It's like, well, because he defeated the Cinder. And then Ash, who barely speaks at all up to this point, is like, he didn't beat the Cinder. I beat the Cinder. And it's like, whoa, what the hell? And we know that Ash from the first couple issues is crazy strong, like super powerful. So it's like, maybe he did. And he's like, yeah, and I nearly lost my life doing so. And so that ends that scene. Then we have another scene, and, you know, going back to issue number 2, Batar realizes that Ash is alive, and he sent out one of his servants. And so one of the servants shows up to, this looks like some sort of like mining area, but he goes and he talks to a brand new character introduced to us. Her name is Vex. And he's like, you need to assemble your Eclipses. And basically you come to find out that Vex is part of the Eclipse group, and she gets wind that Ash is alive as well. She goes, looks back at some recordings, and sure enough, she sees Ash. And she is tasked by Batar to defeat Ash, so that way we can keep up the lie that Batar is actually the one that saved the day, and it has nothing to do with Ash. So major conspiracy and secret all going on, trying to keep it under wraps as best as possible. And that's basically the end. There's a minor little subplot of like Leloy has a rival food truck like competitor, and he's like trying to destroy her truck, so that's also taking place as well. But the overarching story is like pretty cool, so I'm super interested to see where it goes. I feel like things are finally picking up, which is good, because I was worried. I was like, uh-oh, this feels like it may be a dud towards the end here, but no, it is still rocking and rolling, which is pretty cool. So let's see, where are we? Oh, perfect. So here's the artwork. It reminds me a lot of Battle Chasers. I believe it's the similar artist, or maybe the same artist. But it's more of a slower paced story than Battle Chasers. And I mentioned this before because Battle Chasers just goes like boom, 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 boom. And this feels like it's going a little bit slower, which is fine as we start to build out the story. I know the story continues into the second volume, and if things are heading the way that I think that they're going to head, I think I'm going to pick up the second volume, but TBD, jury's still out on that one. But you can see the artwork, very action focused, almost like cel shading in some instances, but still very much like that Saturday morning cartoon. And then this is where I left off here, where they're about to have like some sort of celebration for Batar. So yeah, that's Ghost Pepper issue number 3. Again, this is a trade, so not really the time to necessarily pick it up. But at this point, I'm thinking it's a recommend. That's where I'm heading at and where my head's at right now. And just on the artwork alone, I'm enjoying that. I like where the story is heading, and I'm pretty sure next issue we're going to get to some really good, juicy stuff. So yeah, Ghost Pepper issue number 3. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. Then we got Poison Ivy, issue number 17. So this is the second to last issue in the third volume. We got Poison Ivy here. She's got this Lamia spore, and she's been coming into contact with a whole bunch of people. They've been infected, and it's been like gestating inside them to the point now that they've become zombified and affected with this spore, and they're all being attracted to Gotham towards Poison Ivy as the infection continues to spread. So basically what Poison Ivy has to do is put together some sort of antidote. So this issue I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. And for this issue, she is dealing with Killer Croc a lot. So she goes to that shack that she had out there from a couple issues ago, and that's where she's putting together and manufacturing the antidote. And as she's working on it, realizes that Killer Croc, who's also in close proximity and eats one of the wild mushroom spores, isn't infected at all. He's like completely immune. She's interested. She wants to take a blood sample. Turns out Killer Croc's afraid of needles, so she decides not to do that, as it's not necessarily the ethical thing to do. But as they're having their conversation, the zombies start attacking. So they're attacking Poison Ivy, they're attacking Killer Croc, they're trying to fight them off as much as possible, trying to be as non-lethal as possible as well. And as they do that, they're starting to get overwhelmed. And then sure enough, who shows up but the most random character of all? Solomon Grundy shows up, born on a Monday, and he apparently is also living in this swamp too, and notices these zombies, and he ends up helping out as well. And so now they're trying to hold back all these zombies as much as possible and try to free up Poison Ivy to give her enough time to manufacture this antidote. So that's taking place, but then we have a little bit of a B plot as well. She woke up at the beginning of this issue with like pangs in her stomach. And if you see from the title cover on the hardcover volume that I have here, it looks like she's pregnant. And so it's like, okay, now we're getting to that point where this is probably going to be revealed in the next issue, which is the last issue of the volume. And then sure enough, this cover here is the cover for for issue number 18 as well. So that is certainly going to take place also. So yeah, it's building towards, the next arc. If you went to pick up the singles, you'd actually want to start at 16, not 17. That's the start of this new arc here. But at this point, just go ahead and pick up the volumes. Been enjoying it. The art is still awesome and really worth it on that piece. It's just, we'll have to see where the story is going, because right now the first 2 issues of this arc are like kind of so-so, but the art remains pretty excellent. So here's the start of this issue. Oh, the other thing is like you have this kind of confusing trouble that's going on here between Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and the HR lady as well. But most of the issue is about putting together this antidote as best as possible, fighting off those zombies. Here's where Solomon Grundy comes into play and continuing to fight off these folks while Poison Ivy is still feeling the effects of whatever's going on in her stomach. And then you can see here is the cover for the next issue, for issue number 18. So yeah, that is Poison Ivy issue number 17. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. And then continuing here, we have Echolands. So I showed the vertical version, but this is actually how it is in a horizontal format here. This issue, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. Super long, almost like a magazine format, but like a comic strip format is really the best way to describe it. So it's very, very elongated width-wise, or I guess I should say length-wise. But this is cool. The artwork is outstanding in this book, so I can just go ahead and show off that. And accidentally hit the camera there. But like, take a look at this, right? Like, what are we even talking about? How crazy is this? That's from issue 1. Then we get to issue number 2 here, and it's just like crazy level of detail and saturation that you have on every single panel, every single page. It really uses the length of the pages really well, as it shows the artwork like all the way across the strip. Like, it's pretty nuts. And so I'm liking it from that perspective. The story, we have Red Hood and we have like a group of bandits. Red Hood stole a gem, and when she stole this gem, the daughter, I want to say, is trying to retrieve it. And so at the end of the first issue, they're found out in their hideout spot, and it looks like the whole crew is going to die. Issue number 2, we start off, one of the members of the crew has like a teleportation spell, so they use that. Everyone just barely escapes. Red Hood nearly dies, and then they head into the sewers. From the sewers, they're trying to figure out, how do we get out to the boats that are at the dock and the port. And as they're going through the sewers, they're all arguing, so a bunch of just party banter back and forth, and they run into this spherical like robot that seems like it's on some sort of mission, but it's plugging up this big hole in the wall. So all the party helps to pull the robot out of the wall, and when they do, they ask the robot if he knows how to get out of here. He does. So that leads them to the docks. Sure enough, they run into a character that knows Red Hood, but apparently Red Hood forgot to pay this guy, and so now this huge fight starts. And then the robot in particular gets super pissed off and tries to defend Red Hood and the party. So that allows the rest of the party to then sneak onto the boat while that robot is basically killed. So he's introduced in the one issue and then killed also in the same issue as the whole party gets away onto this boat. And it's weird because they mentioned San Francisco, but like the city and stuff looks nothing like. Everything is like super fantastical and over the top. So it's an interesting book. I'm more curious on the artwork than I am on the story, but obviously I'll just kind of keep reading through it. So it's an Image joint. Echolands came out back in 2021. This hardcover, no point in picking up the singles. You might as well just pick up the trade itself. But right now it's a recommend. Certainly if you love art pieces, this is the one for you. The story is good, but I'm not convinced on the story. For sure, the artwork is outstanding. So it's worth it on that if you that's what you value when you're considering whether or not to pick up a comic. So yeah, that's Echolands issue number 2. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. And then, let me just show the back cover as well too, right? It's like, look at the host of characters. You have a Gundam on here. You have a sailor, a pirate, a spaceship. It's like the most insane fantasy book ever. It is so cool. Next up is going to be Fables. So this will be issue 159. And this was an interesting one because we're getting to the point now where we're getting near, if not basically at the climax. Maybe 160 will be the big one. But this issue, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. We have in the Green Forest, all these animals were slaughtered, and 3 different folks have claims to the forest is theirs. So we have the King of the Werewolves. He wants it for himself. We have Jack in the Green. She wants it for herself to defend it. And then we have this demon that was released. He has a claim on it as well. And what everyone decides to do is like, okay, well, whoever can figure out who killed all these animals in the realm, surely they're the ones that deserve to be protector of the realm. So they all kind of agree. And it was Peter of Peter Pan. And he was bested by the werewolves' children. And so he's not incapacitated, but he's been like knocked out. And so not start of this issue, but a couple pages in after they determined, the investigating, the scene then switches over to Peter, where he's like, I can't believe that happened to me. I can't allow that to happen to me. Tinkerbell, you have to go after these werewolves kids and you have to put an end to it and do something horrific. So murder them, kill them, torture them, do whatever, but you have to do something. And so Tinkerbell, basically is a slave to Peter, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And so she goes to the girl werewolf who has a boyfriend. That boyfriend is the son of this demon, and she kills him. She kills him by turning him into a whole bunch of different grasshoppers, and he's completely gone. And the king demon, the father demon, realizes this and gives out this howling wail, and that is the cliffhanger of just shit's about to go down, right? So now we got this kid that's dead. We got the demon father, his son is dead. Everyone knows now that going after Tinkerbell / Peter, final showdown's basically about to happen. So it's cool. It's getting towards the climax. I'm excited for it. But definitely just a 4. Maybe the next issue is going to be the 4.5 that's going to push it over the edge, but TBD as of right now. Show off the artwork. Artwork is fine. It's always just kind of been fine. How do I describe this? It's more cel shady, if anything. Here's a cool scene of Tinkerbell basically going from the human world back over to Peter, and Peter is given those instructions on what to do. And then from here, this is where you have the werewolf and her boyfriend. Tinkerbell then shows up, and then here's where he turns into all these different grasshoppers, and then he's gone. And then, the demon father is like, I can't believe it. My son is gone. So now it's about to get crazy. And sure enough, you can see the first page here. So I'm excited to get into it, and it should be a good one. So it's Fables issue 159. Again, this trade is 12 issues in one. I just decided to pick it up. I really don't recommend jumping in at this point unless you like your fairy tales getting completely all mixed up and jumbled together. That's what this is, right? So you got Peter Pan in here. You got the werewolves that almost seem like they're part of the big bad wolf. Geppetto's referenced in here as well. So it's just all those different, kind of fairy tales all mixed together. But it's cool. I'm enjoying it thus far. So yeah, Fables 159, I give it a 4. League gave it a 4.1. Then we got Issunboshi, which is a cool book. I'm on chapter 3. I love how it's show don't tell in this book. And that continues to be the theme. So Issunboshi, he is the spirit of the world. We got these 4 different elements. One's like land, one is like of wood, and the other is of stone. And then Issunboshi is the spirit of the world, right? And so he is basically the final piece that is still outstanding. This demon is trying to unite all 4. If he does, then he's going to have control of the entire world. And the spirit wanted to prevent that, created Issunboshi. Basically, he's the size of a literal thumb because he was given to 2 parents who wanted to have a child. They weren't able to, and like, we'll pray to this thing and we'll have a son even if he's the size of a thumb. And sure enough, the spirit granted the wish, and he grew up as a normal kid would, but that tiny. And his home was attacked. He finds himself then lost in the woods. He meets up with a sensei. He's getting trained up in chapter 2. Then in chapter 3, we learn a little bit more about the sensei. So when we meet the sensei in chapter 2, he's completely blinded. He's got bandages wrapped around his eyes. He can't see. So we learn his whole backstory. He comes from a village. This random lady showed up. The head of the village fell in love with her. Turns out she wasn't a woman. She was some sort of demon being sent out by this same head demon who is trying to gather up all the 4 pieces here. And so, sure enough, he got his eyes gouged out by a raven that came in and attacked. The same raven that came in and attacked Issunboshi in chapter 1. And so, now that we know that backstory and the sensei, like his motivation behind all of this and that he was attacked and knows how dangerous this is, sure enough, the camp where the sensei, Issunboshi, and the 2 trainers is attacked. And it's attacked by the head demon, right? So he sends in these huge like skeleton golems. They take care of everyone else. And then it's just the demon and Issunboshi going one-on-one. And Issunboshi is like pinned up against a wall, and he's got this like spear held up against him. And the demon looks like he basically saps out the energy, or the spirit, if you will. And now the demon has all 4 pieces. So we're basically at the hero's journey in just chapter 3 alone of like despair, right? It's like, it looks like everything is down and out. How the hell are we going to win? But that's basically where we're at. So it's a really cool chapter. And I'm just honestly loving this book. It is so good, from its artwork to like everything that's happening in it. And go ahead and show all this off so you can take a look. It reminds me a lot of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it's more of anime style, but it's like a Western version of anime, if you will. So sure enough, like here is basically how he's blinded from that bird, came in, took his eyes, and here is where they're basically getting their final lessons before they're attacked by those huge skeletons like I mentioned. And then sure enough, the evil demon, he shows up here. He's got Issunboshi pinned after some brief fighting with this sword, and it looks like basically he's going to be down and out, and he's taken out the spirit. So we'll see what happens in chapter number 4. So I want to say maybe it's like 8 chapters in total, but this book has been slept on, man. I'm so surprised it doesn't have a rating on League. It's leaning towards a 4.5 for sure. It's an incredible book. Oni Press, highly recommended already. I can just tell it's going to be a banger. We'll see how it all comes to an end. I'm very heavily invested. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Highly recommend. So Issunboshi, and that was just chapter 3. We'll continue to read through it. I'm leaning towards a 4.5 right now. So I'm glad I picked that one based on the cover, because that's basically what I did. Then Nandi and the Castle in the Sea. So I just started reading chapter 1. This, of course, is from Anil, who we did the interview with. And for this one, it's not on League, and I may reach out to him and be like, hey, is there a way you can get this on League? Because it certainly deserves to be. So I just basically have his website up here from slowcomics.com, just so you can get a flavor of what it looks like before you flip to the art itself. Just in reading chapter 1, I bought the book, so I'm going to be completely fair, even though I interviewed the guy and everything. So things are just getting set up here. It's a pretty cool, fantastical world. Looks like it's a mix of like tropical islands, but some of it is like fantastical, as well as like the food's very different, and it's almost like Venice in that there's all these different canals and the way that people can connect, but it's in a tropical setting, right? So it's an island, but a bunch of different rivers and tributaries, and it's like gorgeous, and maybe a bit of like El Dorado in there as well. It's very cool. But what I've gathered thus far is there's this evil leader, and he wants to go after these tribe of savages. Don't necessarily know the motives or the reasons behind it, but he needs a electric salamander, basically, to be able to predict when exactly it's going to rain, and then from there, he's going to attack. That's all we were given as far as detail thus far. It is a very, very thick book as far as a graphic novel is concerned. So we got plenty of time to build this thing out. I want to say maybe I read through 5% of the book. So it is truly just setting up, here's the motive of what the bad guy wants. We haven't even been introduced to Nandi in the first chapter yet. So truly just like some context background of like, here's what's happening before we even meet the main character that it's named after. So it's cool thus far, but too early to tell and like to truly give it a rating. I'll show off some of the artwork, which you can find obviously on his website, on his social media, but it is so cool. It is Saturday morning cartoon. It's a little bit of like kind of that Battle Chaser style as well too, but I just love it, man. It's like great detail, but at the same time it's like whimsical too, and it's inviting, and it's homey, and it's warm, and I don't know, it's so cool. So I'm loving it right now, and we'll see where it all goes. So yeah, Nandi and the Castle in the Sea. I guess I'm at a 4 right now, is where I would say. If I wasn't being a coward and actually giving it a score, that is where I would be at. And then last but not least, The Last Ronin. Man, I was looking forward to getting into this one. It's one of the super highly rated books. Put it up there with, The Killing Joke as far as its notoriety and how infamous it is. The Last Ronin's been kicking butt. So this one originally came back out in 2020. This hardcover book, when did it come out? Let's see if I can find it. 2022. And I probably picked it up maybe 2 years ago, something like that. But so much hype around it. Every time the shop was getting it in, completely sold out. So they'd order 4, 5, 6 copies, sold out every single time. So I saw it on the shelf. I was like, let's just go ahead and buy it. And now we're finally getting to it. And The Last Ronin, if you don't know, the concept basically is it's a Ninja Turtle story. All the Ninja Turtles have died except for one. We don't know who the one is, and apparently until the very end of the book. He has all the weapons, and he's going after Shredder's grandson is who the villain is. And so this first issue breaks into the city, works his way all the way from the lower levels all the way to the top. He's fighting off all these different robots. The one-liners are incredible. It's extraordinarily gritty. There's very bloody and very violent, right? It's like take your childhood cartoon and then like make it as adult as possible, and it hits. The art's great. It's the one-liners is like reminiscent of like the darkest and grittiest version of Batman. And meanwhile, as he's fighting his way through, he's still like having the quips with his brothers as though they're still alive, but it's all like in his head. He gets up to the point where he's fairly high, and all he has to do is cross over into the next part of the city, and then he'd basically be there, and he gets stopped. He gets basically mortally injured, and falls back into the sewers. And when he does, he looks like it's like this is the end for him, and looks like he's about to commit suicide. But then he basically faints from the pain, and then he's rehabilitated, and that's basically the end. He has a vision of the past, and then he wakes up in his bed, and there's a call out to Michelangelo, but I don't know if we actually know it's Michelangelo or not. Me personally, not a huge Ninja Turtle fan. Seen a couple things here and there. I feel like Ninja Turtles is just a little bit older for me. Like, I was too young. So I'm 32. I feel like if you're 35 to like 40, like Ninja Turtles is your thing. But for me, I just missed it. So I don't have that nostalgia behind it. So it doesn't quite hit me in all the feels as it possibly could. But even still, understanding where it's at. And then a book living up to its hype it's certainly checking that box, which is good. So I'm enjoying it. The first issue, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. And so very, very good there. Show off some of the artwork so you can get a sense of what it all looks like. And it's a quick read. It's a mix of both the art and then the comic storytelling as well. But the storytelling is just very quick, very brief. It's very snappy, fast-paced as you're going through the action from scene to scene. Very, very action-focused in this first issue as well. I'll say Shredder's like grandson is pretty dope too. From his one-liners, it reminds you a little bit of Kylo Ren, but just not as quirky. Like maybe seems like he has some actual motives behind him, but jury's still out on that. So yeah, I'm enjoying it very, very much. The Last Ronin, if you're going to pick it up, of course, just go ahead and pick up the trade. I think it's 6 issues in total. Let's see. If we go back here. 5. It's just 5 issues. Easy enough. So right now, yeah, I mean, if this continues, definitely I recommend. But, we'll see. Once I get to like 2, maybe 3 issues, then I feel more confident. But it seems like it's going to be a banger. I think the overall trade itself, has a 4.6. So it seems like it starts off with a bang and it just kind of continues. So yeah, Last Ronin, issue number 1, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. And that's it. Those are all the 9 books that I have for today. Let's go ahead and just recap them real quick. So that way you have them. In case you forgot, we had Nice House by the Sea, issue number 6, exploration of Nora and Max's relationship a little bit more. Saga, issue number 49, the reporters, they want to tell Marco and Alana's story. They reject it, but Prince Robot wants the same offer. Then we got Ghost Pepper, issue number 3. It's revealed that Ash was the one that actually took care of the Cinder, but now Batar is sending Vex after Ash. Then we had Poison Ivy, issue number 17. Poison Ivy's trying to put together an antidote. It's her, Killer Croc, and now Solomon Grundy that are fighting off these zombies. Then we had Echolands, issue number 1. We had Red Hood with her crew. They just narrowly escaped while they have this hidden gem, and now they're trying to get on this ship to get across the bay. Fables, issue number 59. Peter and Tink exact some revenge onto the demon's son. Issunboshi, chapter number 3. We learn a little bit of the backstory of the sensei, and it looks like the demon now has all 4 parts to control the world. Nandi and the castle in the sea. We're just getting set up with the villain, and he's trying to go after these savages. And then the Last Ronin, issue number 1, setting up the world. We have our Last Ronin, our last Ninja Turtle, trying to make his last stand against Shredder's grandson. He gets injured along the way, so we'll see what his revenge story is and how all these Ninja Turtles were killed along the way. So yeah, that's it. Those are the books. Go ahead and plop these up on the desk so you can see. As we close things out, so the Omega, of course, middle of the week, and then we have our Saturday issue. It'll be the Saturday issue that comes out, which will be regular. I think I just have 5 pulls for this week, so I should be able to get through some more of these books, and then we'll have the 5 from the current week. But I'll say next week, going on vacation, so I'm not going to be able to plan ahead like I do usually, so may not have a Saturday issue next Saturday, just because of the timing on everything, which sucks, but kind of is what it is. So what the plan will probably be is we'll pick back up with an Omega the week after and then go into the regular Saturday. That's the way that I envision it, but kind of TBD, really on how I feel, how tired I am. This feels like it's going to be one of those vacations where you need a vacation from the vacation. So I'm not entirely sure, but you'll have a Saturday issue and then TBD from there. So yeah, with that, I think we'll go ahead and close it out. Thanks again for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. You can check out social media, all in the description below. And then if you'd like to support monetarily, there's a link down there buymeacoffee.com/SaturdayMorningReview. It's a great place to leave a donation. All proceeds would just go to comic books, so anything that you'd be willing to donate would be greatly appreciated. So with that, we'll go ahead, we'll close it out. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next one.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.